Fox News alert now in less than an hour. Opening statements are set to begin for former President Donald Trump's hush money trial. The former president's departure from Trump Tower is taking place right now.
You can see him there. He's on his way to the courthouse in New York City. Part of that motorcade.
Just left Trump Tower, heading down to the courthouse. He usually takes the FDR, the highway that runs along the East River.
Think about the resources they need for this trial.
I know how much money that costs. Wonder if is he allowed to bring a blanket in?
I know.
He keeps talking about how cold it is.
I guess Under Armour.
I think the taxpayers in New York would prefer the prosecution of the criminals that are bashing people's heads in instead of the former president in a nonviolent offense. Let's bring in Fox News legal analyst Gregg Jarrett right now. Hey, Greg.
Hey, Lawrence.
So, Greg, we've been talking about the back and forth in this case. Are you concerned about the attorneys being on the jury?
No, actually, I mean, I normally am. When I tried cases, I would always boot a lawyer off of the jury because I always worried that, attorneys have a tendency to be authoritarian, to commandeer a jury and impose their will on that jury, and you never know how that's going to work out. But here, I think that might extend to the benefit of the defense, because lawyers, more than anybody else, would see through this charade of a case brought by Alvin Bragg. They'll focus squarely on the facts and try to decide, do those facts meet the law? And if they do that, then the answer is no, and the verdict would be an acquittal. So this may benefit Donald Trump.
Greg, Brian was asking about the gag order. And because this judge, his daughter has been working for Democrats and has helped raise money for Democrats. He gave money to the Democratic Party or to one of the candidates, to Joe Biden. So now you have Donald Trump who's gagged. Does a gag order prevent his family from talking specifics about this case?
No, I don't think it does. The last time I checked it, it's been updated several times. I think his family is free to make those arguments. But, this judge was required under the Code of Judicial Conduct to recuse himself. Why? Well, because his immediate family member, his adult daughter, has a financial and economic interest in the outcome of her dad's case. In fact, through her Democrat consulting organization, she and her clients have been fundraising in solicitation emails by citing the Trump prosecution in New York, over which her dad presides. And they have raised, according to the New York Post, some $93 million. And, the amount is continuing. So if you read the code, it says a family member to the 6th degree who has a financial interest, that requires the judge to recuse. Here it's the 1st degree. It's his grown daughter. He should have disqualified himself. But the fact that he has refused to do so, despite repeated requests, suggests to me that this is a guy who's hyper-biased against Trump. He's determined to find him guilty.
So let's talk about the opening argument. Some say shorter the better for prosecution and defense. How long do you expect him to go? And do you think we'll get to our first witness today?
Yeah, I think they'll get to the first witness. And I think opening statements, not arguments, statements, you're not allowed to argue. I think the defense will contend that no crimes were committed at all. Trump was targeted because he's running for president. The prosecutors built their case on deceptions and a misuse of the law and a bunch of liars who cannot be trusted. Remember, the core of the case against Trump is that he misreported the so-called hush money. So the defense is going to tell these jurors in the opening statements that the money paid was lawful, doesn't qualify as a campaign donation, that Trump was not involved in keeping the records, and regardless, those records were both accurate and lawful.
You make a good point about statements versus arguments, and in a statement you're laying out what the evidence will show. I'm just curious, though, you will attempt as an attorney to tie it into a theme. You started there, I think, to lay out that theme. What will be the theme of both the prosecution and the defense?
Well, the defense, I can't account for prosecutors because this is such a cockamamie case. I'd be curious to see how they're going to justify it in court. I think the defense will urge jurors, focus squarely on both the law and the facts. Don't allow your personal or political views of Donald Trump to shade your judgment. If they do that, then I think he absolutely would be acquitted. Former Attorney General William Barr said over the weekend on Fox News, and he's no fan of Donald Trump, this case is a travesty. And upon conviction, if that happens, it will surely be overturned. My problem here is I'm concerned that Manhattan is an inherently hostile venue. Jurors may be predisposed. The verdict could be preordained. And then, of course, you factor in the judge. And as I said a couple of days ago, witches in Salem had a better chance of a fair trial than Donald Trump in Manhattan.
Greg, do you expect, and we see this a lot in legal cases, last-minute motions to dismiss the case? Now that we have the jury selected and all that, do you anticipate Trump camp to make a last-minute motion, one last shot at it?
Yeah, they might try it, but it's not going to succeed with Judge Juan Marchand. I think one of the other themes here is the hypocrisy of Bragg's overarching argument that Trump tried to interfere in the 2016 election by, concealing this otherwise lawful payment to Stormy Daniels. Bragg's case itself is designed to interfere in this election, trying to tie up Trump in court so he can't campaign. Biden Democrats have brought 4 different criminal cases against their opponent, all of which were timed to occur in the run-up to the election to interfere in the outcome, benefiting Joe Biden to the detriment of Donald Trump. And they have 2 goals here: keep him off the campaign trail and then label him a convicted felon if they gain a conviction. They don't care that it will later be overturned on appeal, because by then the damage will be done.
All right, Greg,
That's
thank
the
you.
irony.
Yeah.
Election interference here, too. He's strapped in a chair while Joe Biden's on Air Force One campaigning.
Exactly.
Right.
Thank you so much, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.